So TTEC Digital is a group of architects, engineers, and CX transformationists. We focus really deeply on contact center orchestration first, and then we start to ask, have you digitally transformed from the cloud? Most of you are in moments of transformation. You're either prem now, going to the cloud, or have gone. Those moments of transformation often create moments for contact center optimization to occur, and that's about getting your people and process right so that technology lands and actually yields great effect and results. So we really focus on combining CCaaS, CRM with CX transformation. We help the customer write the best set of requirements that they've ever turned over to a build team so that the product that's delivered at launch is lovable, not minimum viable.
I'd love to hear you talk to me a little bit about this eye chart here and help me kind of break it down. How do you approach all of this from an implementation and advisory standpoint?
And so we talk about, when did automation begin? I start with the idea here that AI is truly able to contribute today. And this graph shows different AI capabilities and how they have evolved over time. The black line at the top is human performance. So certain capabilities have already passed the human line. So I get asked all the time, when is Skynet going to happen? When are the machines going to rise against us? What keeps us safe? And I'll say out to the right, if you look, there's three lines out to the right. Common sense completion, the green. Grade school math, the yellow. And the orange is what I'll call quality code generation. Common sense completion is what you might also call a logical leap. How do I, with the processing power of my brain, look at unrelated things, find commonality in them instantaneously and no context? Machines are so far from that, we are very safe. Same thing with grade school math. Machines are very good at following equations and steps, but not intuiting what math to use when. So it's still very much tell me what to do. And finally, code creation. Coders everywhere are putting out okay code and saving a lot of time in code generation and code testing, but every line still has to be tested. There are AIs currently, in very tightly controlled environments that are modifying their own code and assessing their needs, and that's the AI that kind of worries me, and I like that it's air-gapped and in a box, and it should stay there until we're really safe about it. So know this, about 1880 is when we think the first automation came out. We talk about keyboards, and as publicly switched telephone networks had humans connecting lines, I think of that as the first layer of automation that we achieved as a species. Around 98 is when handwriting and recognition and speech recognition came out, and those have become sort of ubiquitous. We talk about machine learning, and to some extent frequency analysis. Those are being ubiquitously called AI today, but are really, different flavors of RPA and RDA are now called AI. But what happened in 2016? Everything started to cross the line then. It was the rise of cloud computing. As soon as cloud computing made lots of processing cycles available to R&D teams, look at what happened. I mean, we really crossed the line on reading comprehension, image recognition, and language understanding. So AI's here, it's ready to play. Throughout our conversation here, I'm also going to talk about some of the areas. I know you're all being asked, what's safe? What can we play with today? What should I be worried about? This is the perfect time to talk about it. So I look at Genesys as CCaaS. It's contact center as a service. I call this a system of connection. It's where channels and customers meet your digital front door and get orchestrated into you. When CCaaS is connected to your CRM, your order management systems, and your warehouse management systems, your systems of action, across an integrated agent desktop, we unlock magical moments. And suddenly, RPA and RDA and machine learning, well, they take on new capability names in the Genesys Cloud, like bullseye routing, or predictive analytics, or auto transcription. Gen AI summarization. So let's talk about a couple of things that are less safe than they used to be. Your friend Cliff has been out on the streets for the past 20 years telling big banks, let's do great big balance transfers on a voice print. I've been out convincing big pharma, let's prescribe the big narcotics on the voice print of a doctor alone. Those days are over. I spend a lot of time on stages like this talking. The currently available GPT and DALL-E tools that are out there can take about 12 seconds of my voice and turn it into a voice print that'll defeat about 90% of the ASR out there. So voice biometrics, it's not unsafe, but my speech pattern is just another piece of PCI, along with my date of birth, my account number or whatever. A matrix of threat and risk should define what we need to unlock capabilities and outcomes for our members, customers, and patients. So know that, when I talk about, identification like that, let's identify with it, but maybe not authenticate with it. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think as we look at the tech, we always have to make sure that we're not losing sight of the emotional connection and the journey, right?
That's right.
Nobody wants to hear like, oh, that was my bot and that was my predictive routing. They want to have the full experience and it needs to be seamless. So can you just talk a little bit about how you serve some of your clients doing that?
Absolutely. Let's talk about, I'll talk about a government agency that we've supported, the Public Employee Retirement Agency out in Colorado. These are all the teachers and administrators in the state that have retired. And as a Genesys client, they really were looking to get into automation, reduce their cost of ownership, and realize more value. So we came in and did a horsepower assessment for them. They had migrated and very pointedly wanted to do a lift and shift. Their IT partners were under the gun. They had to go fast. And about 6 months post-launch, the business said, hey, I have all these amazing capabilities you told me about when we demoed, and I don't have any turned on. Could we turn those on, please? So we came in, we assessed how they had configured the platform. We looked at the journeys that both their employees and the former employees or the retirees that we were supporting. Ultimately, we saw the immediate need for Gen AI summarization, knowledge surfacing, and to some extent QA automation. And we were able to very quickly help them configure that, see a pathway to a harvest of knowledge so that we could then begin to service solutions. Extremely happy folks there due to some savings. We also helped their leaders get better in the reporting side of the tool set so that they could do value realization statements upward that said, our Genesys investment is paying off. Look at these metrics, look at these numbers. So we enhanced their storytelling, which I think is so important when we talk about value.
Absolutely, absolutely. The value has to be not rooted in solely automation. It has to be that fabric that is weaved all the way through. One more story for me?
Sure. We recently have done some work with the largest credit union in Arizona, and they're in a really unique position as well. They also lift and shifted, but are in a really demanding world where they have created a credit union services organization. They've outsourced IT so that other credit unions that are smaller could get the benefits of coordinated and mature IT. It's a really wonderful situation, but along the way, both organizations lost the ability for CX transformation communications. They very much became a customer and order taker, and a perfect spot for us as transformationists to reinsert, get the art of requirements turning into great designs again. We helped them to reduce their handle time by 21 seconds with some Gen AI summarization. More importantly, the knowledge surfacing helped them in some very specific customer intents that were kind of emotional and kind of risky because people were concerned about their investments changing. By doing some knowledge surfacing, we also reduced their escalations by about 20%, which was a huge lift for their supervisors and leaders.
Yeah, that's great, great efficiencies. So let me ask you, what excites you most when you think about the future and what's possible?
I really have this vision of a customer experience that begins at a digital front door where intent and sentiment are deeply understood, Personalization data dips go into customer core systems to understand, was this intent and sentiment today, and your experiences with us and our products in the past, who's the best person in this organization to support you right now? What products should you know about at the end of this conversation? And how quickly, and more importantly, can I use bullseye routing or other routing schemas to route, this great call up to a great employee, right up to the edge of service level, and this, to make that magic moment happen. CX moments of magic are what we want to help create.
And I know that you've got lots of advice you'd give them, but I guess just for the stage here, what's the one piece of advice that you would leave with the audience as they're considering all of these conversations today?
Seek deep personalization. Connect Genesys to your core systems and data stores. Let Genesys, which is the most powerful routing engine on the planet, understand who that customer is and find the right product or the right offer at the right moment at the right price. And you can change outcomes.
Awesome, a real Cinderella slipper there, huh?